Why should anyone talk about the office and the workplace at the biggest tech conference in CE? You may wonder, isn't it a real estate thing or maybe an issue for designers and architects? Tech people aren't into offices. It's simply not their thing, right? And yet, they do work in offices, don't they? And this is exactly the reason why we thought it is worth sharing our experience with you. Tech sector and the startups are growing rapidly, and they are in need of fast and efficient change. Your workplace can help you grow and can help you change. But you will need a workplace strategy, just as you have a marketing strategy or an organizational strategy. My name is Karolina Dudek, and I work for a consulting company, real estate consulting company, BNP Paribas Real Estate. And I'm also the president of Polish Workplace Institute, Polski Instytut Środowiska Pracy.
Hi, Szymon Boniecki. I'm the co-founder of Monterail, a software development and consulting agency. Karolina and we met in 2017, and by then, we as any fast-growing company, we've changed our office space twice. And in 2017, we reached a critical point again. So I asked Karolina to help us out. The office was too loud, too noisy, too crowded, and we had already 65 people working with us and more joining very soon.
When you think about growth, what comes first to your mind? Is it more money? Who thinks it's more money? Nobody. You're very pessimistic. I would think that growth is more money. And how about bigger clients and great brands? Or maybe bigger contracts, more contracts? And how about more demanding projects?
Well, yes, all that is true, but growth also means more people on board. So that means your organizational structure will keep changing. That means more roles, more levels of management. And while you grow, your organizational structure will gradually change as well. So that means your workplace needs to encompass things like more meetings, more video conferences, more tools, more apps, but also simple things like more noise and more dishes piling up in the kitchen at the end of the day. And so here's our story. In 2017, we're focused on our business. We develop software, we develop digital products, and we're pretty good at it. We were operating at 600 square meters at the time, and everyone was on a single floor, which we were lucky to have. And when we decided to take additional floor, we had certain doubts. So, for example, how do we retain our existing organizational culture, which is being a sense of one community? How do we retain the current productivity? How can we increase the productivity? How do we retain the well-being and increase the well-being? Or how do we manage the transfer of know-how, the holy grail of any consulting business? And by now, you're probably asking yourselves, are we crazy to talk about offices in 2019 when everyone is going remote? So we are a remote company. I personally work remotely 90% of my time, but I still spend some time in my office. But some people also like or simply need to work in an office. And I believe in a Basecamp model where most of their team works remotely and they meet in the Chicago headquarters once in a while. And these folks wrote a best-selling book on being a remote company back in the day. And I'm also with Mark Andreessen here, who said from A16Z, who said 20 years from now, remote obviously is going to be the new normal. We know that, right? And telepresence tools will be so sophisticated, there's going to be no question about it. But still, in 20 years from now, companies will become 10 times or 100 times bigger than they are now, and the growth game will be even fiercer. So the ones that will have people on site will have an advantage.
So Monterail had a lot of doubts, so we started a process that resulted in creating workplace strategy. You may wonder, what is this workplace strategy that I'm talking so much about? Workplace strategy is a term that is obvious for us, real estate people, just as product market fit is obvious for you. So let me explain. Workplace strategy is about a structured approach to workplace creation, and it means three things: analyzing needs and examining the way the organizations actually work, creating solutions together with end users, and proposing solutions that fit work styles of teams. Now, I will go into the details, and Szymon, meanwhile, will take you around his office.
I'll show you some pictures.
So, workplace strategy always starts with research. The need for organizational research emerged from a repeated observation that the documents that are produced by organizations, like organizational charts or any kind of job descriptions, they usually describe a situation that is fundamentally different from the way the organization actually works. So the first phase is to sketch the nitty-gritty, just the basics of how an organization works. And what I do usually, what I did in the project so far, is I talk to people that work for companies. So I would ask you, for instance, where do you work? What do you do? Exactly what do you do when you create an app? What tools do you use? With whom do you meet? How often? How often you meet your client to discuss the progress? And in Monterail, I conducted interviews with representatives of different teams to understand how they work. We also met on workshops to discuss what works well and what doesn't work in the office. And I also spent 2 days doing a so-called participant observation. That's an anthropological technique. Anthropologists spend time with the people that they study. Sometimes it's the people, sometimes it's some, exotic tribes. They talk to these people, they listen, they watch, they take notes and photographs, all in order to understand the culture that they study. And so I did in Monterail. Next phase is translation, because we got all these, descriptions, photographs, lots of data and information, and it has to be translated into a workplace strategy. So something that describes how the organization really works. And based on that, we create so-called space budget. Again, very fancy word. But space budget is the total amount of square meters that you need, divided into different workspace areas in your office. And that space budget is, again, translated into space plans so that you really get what you need, something that really will serve your organization in the best possible way. And in the case of Monterail, what I did at the end of the process, I advised them on how to change their office in order to meet the new needs that we observed. So, for instance, I mapped different types of meetings to see and to check and to ensure that all types of activities will be spatially supported. Workplace is not only a place, it's a process. And the faster you grow, the faster you will need to adapt your workplace. So you start with a flat or in a garage, but then you will need to move to a co-working space or an instant office or maybe lease an office. And then you will need to take up additional space or maybe relocate to a bigger office. And during that process, you will need to design and redesign, and design and redesign, on and on. And it's an ongoing process.
So it might be a context you might want to consider and take into account while you grow. It's all worked fine for us, because after some time, when I was walking through the newly designed space, I asked one of my coworkers, how does he like it here? And he said, everything that bothered me, everything that stole my focus, everything that I brought up to that lady has been addressed.
Okay, so sooner or later, you will also need to think about your office. So there are 5 insights that we would like to share with you. First one is talk about the office. Workplace is not a real estate thing, and it's not an issue for designers. It is your thing because you spend roughly 1/3 of your life in your office. And how workplace is organized impacts your businesses. It can help you grow, and it can help you change, but it can as well ruin everything. So talking about the office is very important. And you should talk to everyone in your teams, because everyone that is involved in daily operations should have the possibility to express his or her needs.
Ask your teams for advice. And this emerged naturally for us to engage people in the process. And this is a very powerful tool because people know a lot about your company, but beware, because when you give people space to complain, they will tend to over-complain. So use that power wisely. You can also use an external researcher like we did with Karolina to manage these expectations. We have people with different competencies and different roles, and they have different needs for their daily work. So for example, our project teams prefer a library-like environment, but when they can call all-hands meeting when they want conveniently. And our growth team, which is sales and marketing and business development, we want them to talk to each other all the time, but at the same time, they have plenty of video calls that they need to focus on.
Communicate with graphics. When you design a workplace, there are many people involved. There's you, there are people from other teams in your organization, there are the architects, the real estate people, sometimes the fit-out people, and many others. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes it's very difficult to find the right words. Sometimes it is very difficult to make sure that everyone is still on the same page. So communicate with graphics because it will make your communication more efficient. And it will allow you to make your very abstract ideas concrete. There's one example. You see, it doesn't have to be fancy. It can be very simple. That's a graphic that shows how we could spatially support pair programming. I'm sure that most of you here know what pair programming is, but to put this, to explain this to maybe some newbies to the business, pair programming is about programming, but in pairs, basically.
Well-designed office tells a story about your company, but it's not at the same time too imposing. A well-designed office makes people feel at ease, it makes them feel welcome, and a design of the office, of your office, should emerge organically from how the organization works, which means it will communicate and should communicate the values of people that form the organization. And not to mention the outside world. In our example, over 90% of prospects that come to our office convert to actual clients. So our office not only gives the wow effect, but after some time, for them, it carries an important message, what's important to us as well, and that's productivity and people.
And last but not least, keep talking office as you grow. As I said before, workplace can help you grow, and you spend roughly 1/3 of your life in the workplace. It's worth stressing again. What I would like you to keep from this maybe not very long presentation is that workplace can be created in a way that can support you not just in the moment that you create your workplace, but throughout your lease agreement or for many, many years. But what you need to do is to monitor the changes that occur in your organization and adjust your workplace accordingly. You need to minimize the discomfort of new teams that arrive and don't have the special space for them. And you need to also find the right way to adjust the organizational structure in your space. So monitoring the changes and adjusting workplace accordingly is very important. And through that process, you also need to keep everyone on board and talk to all the people that are in your teams. This is also very important, because when people have the opportunity to influence their workplace, they feel more involved and they really feel they are part of the team and part of the company. So keep talking office as you grow. Thank you.
Yep.